What have you done? The rat catchers!
Oh, I had them hanged. The maggot who took my son confessed to an accomplice. He could not say for certain which man it was, so...
Idiot!
Beware how you speak to your king, my lord.
The king is my grandson, and my grandson is a fool. He's worse than a fool. He's murdered innocent men.
A halo over one Targaryen. Horns over another. Same silver hair. Same blood. Same last name. But somewhere between the throne room and the dragon pit, this family split into heroes and monsters. And the internet still can't agree on who belongs where. One of these four villains is actually the most forgiven character on the entire show. And one of these two good guys has a body count most fans conveniently forget about. Stick around. That's the character everyone gets wrong. House of the Dragon isn't a war between good and evil. It's a custody battle for a throne, fought by people who all think they're right. At the center of it sits one broken promise. King Viserys names his daughter Rhaenyra as his heir. Then, on his deathbed, his final words get twisted into support for someone else entirely. That single misunderstanding, or maybe manipulation, splits the family into two camps. Team Black, loyal to Rhaenyra. Team Green, loyal to her half-brother Aegon II. Here's the detail most viewers miss on a first watch. Every major character in both camps had a legitimate reason to believe they were doing the right thing. That includes the ones with horns drawn over their heads on this thumbnail. Keep that in mind. It matters more than you think. Start with the face at the center of the love side. Rhaenyra Targaryen is written as the wronged heir. The one who should have ruled. The one the audience is told to root for from episode 1. And for a large part of the fandom, that framing worked perfectly. Emma Darcy's performance earned praise for something rare, restraint. She plays grief and fury without ever raising her voice. But watch closely, and the halo starts slipping. Rhaenyra authorizes a message that gets a child killed. She hesitates at moments that cost other people their lives. Some fans call her the show's most sympathetic figure. Others call her indecisive in ways that get people killed around her, not her. So even before we reach the hated side of this poster, the love side already has cracks in it. Now the second halo. Daemon Targaryen. Matt Smith plays him as reckless, seductive, and completely unbothered by consequences. And here's the uncomfortable math nobody likes to do out loud. Daemon kills his own wife off-screen, in circumstances the show deliberately leaves murky. He manipulates a teenage niece into marriage. He commits an act of political murder before the story's midpoint even arrives. By any normal measure, that's villain behavior. But fans don't treat him that way. Online, Daemon is one of the most quoted, most gifted, most defended characters in the entire show. Viewers call this the lovable chaos effect. A character so charismatic, the audience keeps forgiving what they'd never forgive from anyone else. Which raises the real question this video is building toward. If Daemon gets forgiven for all of that, why does the fandom show zero mercy to the characters wearing horns? Flip the poster over. Aegon II Targaryen. He becomes king in a scene built to feel like theft. He didn't fight for the crown. He didn't even want it, at first. It was placed on his head by people using him as a symbol. That single scene made him an instant target. Tom Glencarny has talked publicly about the wave of hatred the character receives online. Hatred that started before Aegon had done almost anything. Here's the detail worth rewinding for. His earliest scenes show a man drinking through neglect. Mocked by his own mother. Overshadowed by a sister the entire kingdom prefers. That backstory doesn't excuse the man he becomes. It explains where the coldness comes from. Aegon isn't hated because he's the most violent Targaryen on this poster. He's hated because the show never lets you like him first. And then there's the character everyone actually argues about. Aemond Targaryen. One eye. One enormous dragon. And the single most polarizing performance in the entire franchise. Ewan Mitchell plays him with a stillness that unsettles people more than shouting ever could. Aemond doesn't rage. He calculates. That calm is exactly what makes his worst decisions feel colder than anyone else's. For one side of the fandom, Aemond is simply the villain. Cruel as a child. Ruthless as an adult. responsible for the show's most devastating single moment. For another side, he's the most compelling person in the entire cast. A bullied, underestimated younger son who turned every humiliation into precision. Picture the same boy in 3 moments. Mocked at a family dinner as a child. Alone with his dragon, finally powerful. Then grown, sitting in council, unreadable. Same character. 2 completely different verdicts. And once you notice that pattern, you can't unsee it anywhere else on this poster. There's a 5th name that belongs in this conversation, even though she's not on the thumbnail. Rhaenyra Targaryen. Aegon's sister and wife. The quiet one. The one the show treats as a casualty long before anything happens to her. She's rarely at the center of a scene, and that's exactly the point. Rhaenyra watches the family destroy itself from the edges of the room. Saying almost nothing. Understanding almost everything. Fans don't argue about whether to love or hate Rhaenyra. There's no debate at all. And reportedly, according to cast interviews, that reaction is intentional. She's written as the one person in this family the audience is never asked to judge. Which says something uncomfortable about the other 4. Maybe they get loved or hated so intensely not because of what they did, but because the show insists you take a side on them in the first place. Here's what actually separates the Halos from the Horns. And it has almost nothing to do with body count. Strip away the music. Strip away the camera angles. Look only at the actions. Rhaenyra sends the message that leads to a child's death. Daemon commits cold-blooded murder before the story properly begins. Aegon takes a throne he was handed, without lifting a sword to get it. Aemond commits one horrifying act the entire narrative is built to punish him for. Now here's the part that should change how you watch this whole show. The love characters get forgiven because the story frames their violence as reaction. Grief. Provocation. Self-defense. The camera lingers on their pain first, their action second. The hated characters get condemned because the story frames their violence as ambition. And ambition, on this show, is the one motive audiences refuse to forgive. Even when the character offering it is a teenager who was mocked his entire childhood. The halos and horns on that poster aren't a verdict. They're a marketing choice. That's not a flaw in the writing. According to interviews with the show's creative team, that discomfort was the entire intention. A story with no clean heroes, forcing the audience to do exactly what these characters did. Pick a side. And live with what that side actually did to get here. So, today, who actually wins the love versus hate debate? Rhaenyra keeps the most consistent support. Not because she's flawless, but because the story positions her as the one wronged first. And audiences remember first impressions. Daemon still splits opinion, but even his harshest critics admit they can't look away when he's on screen. Aegon II has quietly gained sympathy over time. As more of his backstory surfaces, reportedly, more viewers in online discussions say they understand him. Even if they still don't like him. Aemond remains the name people argue about the longest. Loved for his complexity. Hated for his actions. Sometimes both, in the same sentence, from the same fan. And Rhaenyra stays exactly where the show wants her. Untouched by the argument entirely. Which might be the saddest verdict of all. Remember the halos and horns from the start of this video? They might be pointing at the wrong people entirely. Or maybe, on this poster, every single Targaryen has earned both symbols at once. That's the real story House of the Dragon has been telling since episode 1. If this changed how you see the Targaryen family, there's one video that goes even deeper. Our full breakdown of exactly how the Dance of the Dragon started, decision by decision. Subscribe if you want more breakdowns like this, every week.